Hi everyone, today I am doing a new series and this is going to be my Project 10 wears. And basically the whole purpose of this series and what this series is going to be about is to use one palette and use it 10 times. I guess this is going to be like a condensed version of the 10 Looks One palette, but instead of actually demoing and showing you every single step that I did to create that look, I'm going to sit down and show you what look I created and kind of talk through it. So it's going to be a little bit more informal and hopefully quicker and easier to edit and more frequent, because I have a lot of palettes and I want to rotate through them. I'm actually doing a project pan this year, which I'll link in the cards, but I specifically did not include eyeshadow palettes because I have a lot of them and I want to actually rotate through them, and specifically I want to use a lot of my singles. So this is going to be a way to challenge myself to create new looks using palettes that I've kind of neglected. So I hope you find this interesting to watch, and if you want to see the looks I've created, this one I'm going to be doing the MetalMatte palette by Kat Von D, which I got last year but honestly haven't touched that much. So I've decided to use this one for the first video in this series. So for the first look that I've created for my Project 10 wears using the MetalMatte palette, I've used silk and fringe on my mobile lid, ribbon to deepen the outer V, and a mixture of ribbon, silk and velvet to add to my lower lash line, as well as moss as my liner, which I've really enjoyed. I think it looks great as a liner, and then twinkle on the center just to give it a bit of bling, although I have to say this was a disappointment because it's definitely not as foiled as I would have liked. I have used my brush dry, so maybe if I used it wet it would give a more desired result. But overall really like it. I have to note though, one of the funny things that I found was that silk goes on my lid a lot darker than it appears in the pan, which is a bit strange. I would have liked it if it had gone on my lid true to color, but I did not use a concealer or anything as a base. Maybe it would help if I did. Anyway, overall I do really like how this just turned out. So for the second look I've created with this palette for my 10 wears, I've gone pretty monochromatic, sticking with mainly the greens. I've used Jet as a base for my smoky eye. I have to say I feel like Jet is quite pigmented, but as you blend it out it kind of muddies into a grayish kind of shade rather than keeps this intensity. On top of that I've layered What, which is a metallic kind of teal shade, on the outer portion of my mobile lid in a kind of wing shape as I usually do, and then Ignite on the inner to center portion of my mobile lid to create kind of a gradient. And I've done the same on the lower lash line as well. Overall I do quite like this look. I think it matches my hair quite well. One thing I do have to note is that What did have a ton of fallout, and I don't generally tap my brush very hard on the pan, so I don't swirl around too much, but it did have a lot of fallout, so I had to clean that up. But it's all good. I think it's turned out quite nicely, and yeah, I would recommend if you're using those kind of dark shades to do your base after your eye makeup, which, silly me, I didn't do today. On my lips, I'm wearing Suku Extra Glow lipstick in 11. It is such a beautiful shade. I feel like this lipstick goes with every single one of my eye looks because it's a nice neutral glossy lip. So today's look is very simple. Yes, I know I am wearing the same top as I did the previous 2 days. Let's just ignore that. But today's look is very simple. I'm just using Stone all over the lid and kind of just diffused out. Stone went on pretty pigmented, but now I'm looking back at my eye makeup and I feel like it's faded a little bit already. I don't know, I feel like I need to kind of go back in and just deepen up a bit, and then Velour as a liner. And I'm really enjoying these dark shades as liners. There was a little bit of fallout with Velour, so again, eye makeup and then base is the best way to do it, in my opinion. Otherwise you're just gonna have to clean all that fallout out. On my lips I am wearing the Desi and Katie lipstick in More Creamer Please. I'm still on the fence on this one regards to how it looks like on my complexion. I'm not sure if it really suits me, but I'm just going with it. So I'm not extremely happy with today's look. I feel like it turned out quite different to what I had in mind, and I've used a number of shades that I don't think you can really tell is on my eyelid. If you're thinking it looks okay, I actually spent ages trying to actually get it to where it is now. I used Suede all over my lid, and this kind of turned into a really strange gray color on my eyelid. Then I layered silk on the inner and outer portions of my eyelid because I knew that I wanted to create a halo eye. And As I mentioned in my previous look, this does turn out actually quite darker than what it looks like in the pan. It doesn't go on my lid true to color. And then I've put Flash on my mobile lid on the center. And I've used with my fingers this shade because I found that in the past using a dry brush doesn't work that well. This is where it went south. Okay, I used Feather, which is this pale yellow shade, on in my crease, and it just does not look good. It doesn't look good like that. It's barely even visible because I tried to blend it as much as I could because I did not like the look of it. I think I'm realizing that I don't think pastel colors look that great on me. I just don't think they work for me. So what I've done is when I'm not happy with any look, I just whip on some liquid eyeliner, wing it out, and call it a day. On my lips, I've used this interesting duochrome shade in Cryptic from Impulse Cosmetics. It is a brown with a kind of greeny yellow shift to it. It's very strange, but I feel like it goes with this look. So today is Christmas Eve, and I thought I'd do something a little bit more festive and use some silver in my eye look today. My husband came up and said, "Ooh, you look dramatic today," which I don't feel like I do look dramatic, but maybe that's just because I wear makeup all the time. I don't know. So I'm using two shades today. I've kept it fairly simple. I've used Jet for the smoky eye, and I've come to the realization that I actually don't like this shade. I feel like it really just turns into a gray as you blend it out, and it just doesn't give the effect that I want. I like a matte that is blendable but still keeps its intensity, and so I've went in, I've done, I've cheated a little bit, and I've gone in with dark matte from MetalMatte Cosmetics just to intensify that bit more. Tinsel I used wet, and it did give a lot more of that metallic shine that I was after. On my lips, I'm using Creme de la Creme from Caked Makeup. I've had this one since Black Friday last year, and I honestly haven't worn it that much, so I've decided to pair it with this because it is quite a nice brown nude. And for my lashes today, I'm using the Princess Lee Cross 7 lashes. They're slightly more dramatic than my Cross 7. These are handmade in Taiwan, and they're synthetic lashes, and they're really nice because they look fairly natural. I've put them on from underneath, so they look a lot more seamless, and I really like the effect. It actually makes me look like I've got lashes, which is a nice change. So it's Christmas. Merry Christmas, everyone. Although when you're watching this, it won't be Christmas anymore. We've got family dinner, so I thought I would put some makeup on. This is not really Christmas themed or anything like that, but I thought I'd use some shades that I haven't really worn very much. I started out with Oak, this matte brown shade, on my transition, as well as to create the elongated wing shape that I usually do for my smoky eyes, and then Velvet to deepen the outer V. I've also used Volt, which is this metallic purple shade, with my finger on the mobile lid, and then Twinkle for my inner corner. I think this look is nice, but again, I find that these shades do kind of sheer out a little bit too much when I blend them out, so I've had to just kind of go in and build them up again to get it to where I like it. And on my lips, I've got this Ziggy Lippy Sticks from Colourpop, which I love this shade. I just don't wear that often. Don't know why, because I really like it. Hope you all have had a wonderful Christmas, and I will see you in the next one. So today's look, I've done a green duochrome eye. I have cheated a bit again. I dipped into another palette. This is a new palette from Linda Hallberg. This is the Enchanted Secrets, and I used this beautiful duochrome shade here just to make the look a little bit more interesting, because let me tell you, as I'm using this palette more, I'm just not enjoying it very much. I've used moss pretty much all over the lid and diffused it out. And it diffuses into a strange color, like pretty much a lot of these shades do on me. And Jet, just to deepen up a little bit. As I mentioned, Jet is not the deepest black ever. It's not a fantastic black, but it did help darken the color a little bit more. And then on top of that, I've used Ethereal from Linda Hallberg palette. And I've used Moss on the lower lash line as well. I've also used this new eye crayon from Linda Hallberg that my husband bought for me for Christmas in Happy Mood on my waterline, and I really like it. So far it's still on my waterline, which is a good sign. And on my lips is this new Extra Glow lipstick in 02, and this was a Christmas present for my mum. Really enjoy this formula. As I mentioned, love the Extra Glow lipstick range. So I was running a little low on inspiration today, so I decided to follow a tutorial I saw by a Swedish YouTuber here in the beauty community, and her name is, I think, Annika Nyqvist is, I think, how you pronounce it. I heard her pronounce it once, so I think that's how you pronounce it. Sorry if I got it wrong. But I basically followed the look that she did. I'll link her video in the description below because she did such a good job. She's got a lot of lid space, beautiful big eyes. I don't have as much lid space as her. I wish I did. So I don't feel like I did her look really much justice, but I still really enjoyed how it turned out. She used a couple of shades from the top of this palette here. Basically, she used Ribbon and Silk in the crease, and then Moss on the inner portion, and then Velour on the outer. And then again with the same kind of gradient where it goes green to blue, she's used Watt on the inner portion and then Nebula on the outer, and then Ignite for the inner corner highlight. And done the same gradient on the lower lash line as well. I've also used these crayons by Linda Hallberg. Again, these were Christmas presents on the waterline. And you know what? The look that I did yesterday where I used the yellow on the waterline, I came back from lunch 7 hours later and looked at myself in the mirror and they were still on my waterline. So I'm really happy with how these have performed, and I'm hoping that these will perform just as well as the other shade. And I've also used Stila Stale Day Liquid Lipstick in Dolce, which is my favorite nude from Stila. So for today's look, I have actually dipped into 2 palettes. I did start off with the MetalMatte, and I used a couple of shades that I have never used before. The first being Bone, which is this creamy beige shade. It's almost white, and then Linen, which is a matte white shade. To me, these 2 shades look very similar, and on my eyelid, you can't tell that they're different shades. So I kind of feel like, I don't know why there were 2 of these shades in here. I just feel like it would have been better to have 1, but I don't know. And then the third being Jet, which I use for my outer V. And the reason why I used black and white was because I wanted to dip into the Enchanted Secrets palette, which is a duochrome palette from Linda Hallberg, and use these as topper shades. So on top of the white, I've used Zephyr, which is a coppery shade with a pink shift, and then Orphic, which is a black gray shade with a blue shift to it. I feel like the black and the white as a base hasn't really done very much for these shades, so I think I'm still gonna have to play around with this palette a little bit more. But I don't really care for these 2 shades, these almost white shades that look the same to me. I feel like these 2 shades might work if you've got very fair skin, but in general I'm kind of feeling this palette is geared towards more fair skin because I think these shades would look more true to color than they are on my skin tone. And I'd be interested to know if you are a person of color, whether or not you like this palette, because I see a lot of people raving about this palette, but generally they have very fair skin. So yeah, I don't know. I'm not really enjoying this palette very much, to be honest, but I'm glad I'm playing around with some colors that I haven't really used. On my lips, I'm wearing the Clinique Chubby Stick in Heaping Hazelnut, and this is in my project pan, so I thought I'd just put a bit of it on because honestly I haven't used that much of it. It's in my purse, but this month I haven't really been going out that much, and when I do, I tend to go for my Suku lipstick, so I definitely need to pull this out one a little bit more than I do. So this is Wear 10 using the MetalMatte palette, and I've basically gone in with shades that I haven't touched yet, namely Synergy, which is the metallic brown shade, which I've used all over my mobile lid. I then went in with Oak in my outer V, and then Suede as a crease transition shade. I also used Velvet on my lower lash line to define it. After using this for a while, I realized why I don't touch this palette very much, and that is because I'm not the biggest fan of the Kat Von D formula, at least the one that is in this palette. I just find that I have to work extra hard in order for it to look the way I want it to look on my eyelid. Some of the shades are patchy, like Velvet, it's gone on quite patchy, and it just kind of muddies out and doesn't look particularly flattering, which is a bit of a disappointment because I think the shades in here are quite nice. And some of them do work better as liners where you don't have to go and blend them out and diffuse them and all that sort of stuff. Like Moss, Velour, I really like as liners. I think they look great for that purpose. Now on my lips is this liquid lipstick from Eccentric Cosmetics. They are a Melbourne brand and you can find them in their Etsy store. I'll leave their link below. And this one has been living in my purse for about 6 months, which is why I didn't pull this out very much to wear on camera, because it's the color that I wear all the time. Really like it. It's a very comfortable formula. It's very lightweight. So that was all the looks I've created using the Kat Von D MetalMatte palette. I hope you found this interesting, and let me know if you like this series. And if you want to see other palettes in this one, just let me know which ones you like to see. I will leave my collection video in the cards so you know what palettes I have in my collection that I can use. Although I have decluttered a few of them, but majority of them I have kept. Also want to let you know I am running a giveaway, so please enter that if you haven't. I will also link that one in the cards. Anyway, thank you for watching, and I will see you next time.